All right. Good morning, afternoon, or evening to everybody here in Hug Manila and in Bevy. Welcome to our first meetup for the year. It's called the Data Digest, using data integration to jumpstart your 2023. So today's virtual meetup is actually hosted by Hug Manila in cooperation or in partnership with Get Creative Corporation and Tugger. Welcome to everybody in today's event. Nice to see everybody here. All right, for our agenda today, we'll be doing a bevy tutorial plus a quick icebreaker, and then later on, we'll be talking about some Hug Manila highlights, things that have happened in the last month or the last year. Later, we'll do our session proper with Tugger, some really, really cool people that I'd love you guys to meet, as well as a 5-minute break, and later on we'll do a Q&A with Tugger as well, and with some people here from Get Creative. Before we end, we'll be doing our group photo and event wrap up as well. Okay, does that sound good for everybody? Yes? Okay, so let's first go into our bevy tutorial. So if there are any first timers here for our meetup, here are some features you'll need to know about Bevy, audio and video, our Q&A section, our chat, and also leaving the meeting. Okay, so at the start of today's session, the mic and or video icons will be red. You'll probably see it on your screen. It means that they're both turned off and nobody will be able to hear you. But when you click on these icons and they turn gray, that means they've been turned on, and it also means that people in the bevy room can hear you. You can also ask and answer questions as early as now via the Q&A feature on our chat. So you can check that out on the right side of your screen. And when there are questions in the Q&A feature or the Q&A section, you can upvote these questions by clicking the thumbs up button. And clicking it again will remove your vote. So I think some of you have already tried using our general chat, and you can use that to send a message to all our attendees here. All you have to do is click the chat icon on the top right, and then you can go to general and type your message there. So don't forget to just click the arrow at the bottom or press enter to send. And if you want to send direct messages to people here in Bevy, you want to get to know people or reach out to people directly, you can locate a specific message in the chat and DM that attendee from there. Or you can also search the name of that person and send them a DM from the attendee app. So slide into the DMs of the people here. And towards the end of our event, if if you need to go or if you have another meeting to attend to, you can click the leave button with the phone icon at the bottom right of the corner of the screen. But I hope nobody presses that now because we're just about to start. Okay, so here are some session etiquettes for us to just remember, just some staple stuff for every virtual event. Turning on your video is not required, but of course it's very much appreciated. We love to see the face behind the names that are here in Bevy. We'd also like you to keep your mic muted unless you have questions later on. So we have a Q&A forum for that. You can ask questions there. I recommend that you use earphones for best virtual experience. I use earphones all the time for Bevy or meetups like this, and meet Manila Huggers online and just have fun in today's event. This is all about learning, and we all want to learn together. So again, welcome to our Hug Manila 2023 Q1 Meetup, the Data Digest, using data integration to jumpstart your 2023. If you guys don't know me yet, my name is Sam. I'm your Hug leader for this year. I've been with the Hug Manila team since 2021. I'm also the design guru at Get Creative. But outside of work and outside of HubSpot, I'm a peace advocate volunteer at the Teach Peace, Build Peace movement. So we aim to make every Filipino child and youth a peace hero. I'm also a Marketing Hub fan. I use the Marketing Hub 24/7. And since I'm a designer, I am also a Canva and Adobe enthusiast. So much for knowing about me. I think it's time that we guys play an icebreaker. And today, every time we have a meetup, we play an icebreaker. So today we're going to be playing word search. Super super easy word search. Here's how to play the game. I'll be presenting or showing on the screen a list of letters, a bunch of letters, and all you have to do is type the words that you see in the word search, maybe in your notes or in the baby chat box, but don't send it just yet. We'll be having a 2-minute timer on the screen as well, and once that you have to make sure that you send in your list of words that you found in our baby chat before the 2-minute timer ends. And you can only send your word list once, so be careful before you click that send. Make sure you have all the words that you found in before you send it. And the participant with the most words in their list will win an inbound Contigo tumbler. So I know last year we gave one of these out, and we're going to be giving another one of them this time around. Okay? So I hope everybody's ready. Are you guys ready? Maybe send a thumbs up in the chat if you are. Yeah. Okay. I think you guys are ready. Yeah, everybody's ready. I'll be showing our word search in 3, 2, and 1. Oh, there. Are you ready? Okay, that was just a teaser. Again, I'll show our word search in 3, 2, and 1. Let's play our timer. Alright, time's up for our word search. If you have some answers, put them in the chat. Alright, I see a few of our Hug members here have some answers already. Is anyone else gonna try and send their list also? I'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Okay. We're cutting answers there. Oh, there. Thanks, Bhumika, for sending your answers as well. I'll be revealing our answers here in the next slide. But David will also check the answers and see who has the most number. And the most number in our chat. And later on, during our event wrap-up, we'll announce our winner. All right. But for now, these are the answers for our word search. All right. So I think some of you guys got it already, got them. We have transfer, analyze, apps, tips, simple, data, cleanup, reports, systems, organize. If any of you saw it, did anybody see organize? That was close. Process, secure, and integration. So David will check on those, check on your answers, and later at the event wrap up, we'll see who the winner is. Good luck to everybody. But for now, we'll go into the second part of our meetup, which are our hug highlights. So things that have just happened in the past or the last few months before we last met. In December, we had our Q4 meetup, which was about nurturing connections in communities, learnings from 2022. So we had special guests like Jay Schwedelson from subjectline.com and World Data Group. He talked about marketing trends for 2023. And then for our fireside chat, we also had Flair and Jolson, both local entrepreneurs, CEOs here who also shared their learnings about using HubSpot in their businesses. And of course, we also did a wrap-up of what happened last year. More on hug highlights. I want to congratulate Rafi, who's here in the room, for completing the community bootcamp last March 16. So we both attended that bootcamp, and it was just super fun meeting other community leaders or people who want to create communities in their own areas and locations in the world. So that bootcamp was actually led by Impulse Creative. So if you guys know Dan Moyle, Molly Rigatti, Josh Wingate, if those are familiar names, they're actually the mentors at the bootcamp. So if you want to be a community bootcamp graduate or a lion, as they say, for those who have graduated bootcamps, I highly recommend that you sign up for the second cohort, which is starting on May 4th. So you can screenshot the link there, or you can search it up, HubSpot Community Bootcamp. I also want to congratulate Sarah for completing the RevOps Bootcamp that was with Jen Bergren, Connor Jeffers, and Jamie Jaroz. So I know Sarah has also shared her learnings about RevOps and being at the bootcamp with a ton of other RevOps enthusiasts. And if you want to be a RevOps Lion or RevOps Bootcamp graduate like Sarah, we also have the link for you to apply for the second cohort, also starting on May 4th. So that's for Q2. And if anybody else has attended or completed boot camps here in our Hug Manila community, feel free to let me know so that we can share it also with the rest of our Hug members who knows, may be inspired to be a boot camp graduate like you as well. Okay, more for Hug highlights today, because we're talking about all things data integration, managing data, and cleaning up. This session will actually cover the growth section of the flywheel. So I think it's the first in a while that we'll be covering something beyond the attract, delight, and engage stages of the HubSpot flywheel. But today is really about RevOps. Good thing Sarah's here, so we can talk more about data as well. And let's help everybody grow their data and grow with their customers for today's event. Okay, so let me introduce to you guys our speakers for this morning, evening, or afternoon's meetup. I'd like you guys to meet the co-founder of Tugger, one of the co-founders. I put insert other facts here because I'm sure Chris will talk more about himself later on. But he's one of our co-founders at Tugger as well. You can connect with him on LinkedIn. Along with Chris, we also have Craig. Craig is also the co-founder of Tugger. He's a renowned tech guru and enthusiast. Says here he likes to stay ahead of the curve in the constantly evolving world of technology, and he's also an expert problem solver. So those are the two co-founders of Tugger, our speakers for today. And joining Craig and Chris will also be Holly Welsh. So Holly is our partnership account manager at Tugger. She's been with the Tugger team since 2022, and she likes putting the fun in data analytics. And like everybody else here in the room, she's a HubSpot fan and a Power BI enthusiast. I'm super happy to have Holly here as well, because we've been talking since, if I'm not mistaken, December or early October about this meetup. And I'm so happy that Holly, Craig, and Chris are here this afternoon. So without further ado, let's get it on with our session proper about data integration with Tugger. Everybody, a round of applause for Holly, Craig, and Chris.
Right, so yeah, it's great to be here. Like I say, it's 8 o'clock in the morning over in Manchester here. I'm Chris, one of the co-founders of Tugger. I don't think I actually sent you anything through for that slide, Sam, so it just said fill in the gap. So yeah, I'm also a co-founder of Tugger. I've been in the tech business for about 15 years, mainly working in software development. Over the last few years, though, we've branched out into Tugger, which is solely focused on data analytics. We're helping businesses get the most from the data. We're also a HubSpot solutions partner. That came out last year. We use HubSpot internally as well for our own CRM. And today, Craig, Holly, and myself, we're going to talk to you about some insights into your data, particularly your HubSpot data, because we know that obviously you guys are all HubSpot people. We're going to look at what you can do with that data and how it can help your business. So, well, when we were first asked to write sort of a presentation on data, the first thing we all sort of said together, well, it's a bit tricky. Data is actually a bit dull. And what we mean by that is that when you sort of approach someone and says, data, it's dull. If you sort of speak to someone about it in person, they go, I work in data. Their eyes glaze over. They're like, it's sort of perceived as a dull thing. It's just something that sits behind the scenes in big data warehouses. It's what Microsoft have, Facebook, Google. It's more for like the big guys that, why do I need to care about it? I'm not the size of Microsoft. I'm not the size of Facebook, what do I need to know about it? But, well, if we said into fact, actually, let's spin it around and say, well, what was I want to talk to you about, how you could sell more of your product, or, more of your product to the same customers, existing customers, or target new audiences with, the data you've already got, then it might make data a bit more interesting. If we said, let's talk about streamlining your sales process, increasing your profits, again, from this data, then it might be, less dull. See, data isn't just for like big players. It's, like Facebook and Google. It's crucial now for any business to understand what data they have. So today we're going to look at that data to see, is data dull, or is it a gold mine for your business? So data is a gold mine. So we're going to touch on three main areas today. So we're going to help to sort of explain the importance of getting the value of your data. Firstly, we're going to say data is gold. We'll look at why we class data as gold and what we mean by data as a gold mine. Secondly, we'll look into digging out the gold. What are the issues? How you dig out your data? And if this data is really gold, then just like in a gold mine, it can be difficult to extract just because it's there. It's not always easy to get at. And finally, we'll look at the value of the data, this gold, and the tools for digging that data out and turning the raw data into actionable insights. So data is gold. So much like gold can be mined from the earth for its value, data can be mined as a source of insight, knowledge, and opportunities. So the statement data is a gold mine is often used to express the idea that data can be incredibly valuable to businesses, to individuals, and data has the potential to yield, significant returns or benefits, just like gold mine can obviously return valuable gold deposits, or maybe it doesn't. It's not always guaranteed. Data has the potential to provide sort of valuable information that can be used to make, informed decisions, optimize business processes, create new business opportunities. And with the right tools and techniques, data can be used to uncover patterns and trends, correlations that, you might otherwise not even know they exist. And as the amount of data is sort of generated, across the world is in your own businesses, Facebook, Google, as we said before, it continues to grow exponentially. And the potential value of the data, I think this makes it increase as well. So, with the rise of big data and advanced analytics techniques, businesses have more opportunities than ever to sort of extract the value, from the gold, the data. And like gold, data, it can be difficult and expensive to obtain. Data is scarce, just as gold is finite. Data is also, it's limited in supply. So why are people focused on data today? Well, like we said, Facebook, Google, TikTok, they all track our locations, what we like, what we don't like. Does John down the road, does he like cats? Does he like dogs? Does Dave want to buy boots, shoes? Does Jane like to eat? Where does Jane like to eat? So on and so on. Data is valuable. In today's digital age, it provides insights into customer behavior, market trends, business performance, among many other things. Data, it helps you make better decisions. It provides you with information, insights that you wouldn't possibly have otherwise. Without proper data analysis of, say, for example, your HubSpot data, how would you know your best-selling product or, your best performing, who's your best sales agent? Personalization in data. You see, data can help with customer interactions. Again, in HubSpot, for example, if you can see what products and services your customers are interested in from buying patterns, you can tailor the marketing and sales effort to meet their needs. I'm sure you've all purchased something on sites like Amazon, where you buy something and it's like, just because you bought this, so-and-so bought that as well. So if they bought that and you bought that, there's a chance that maybe you both like this. And, it's all that kind of that targeted marketing that you can do. And again, without that data, if you just said, I bought a product, and then there was no history of that, and there wouldn't be any data, it'd be, well, how can we resell to that person? You couldn't. You just be mindlessly throwing products at them hoping that they buy it. But if they said, well, they bought X, this person also bought X, this person then bought Y, you could say, well, let's see if that works. And it's just how you utilize that data without analyzing it. It's just, you just sort of market blind, really. Competitive advantage, again, allowing your business to make better understanding of the markets, the customers, competitors. You can track effectiveness of the marketing campaigns and optimize them for better ROI. You can see which channels are actually generating the most leads and revenue, and then you can adjust strategies accordingly. Data can help risk as well in terms of risk management. It can identify potential problems before something becomes a serious issue. So by analyzing, say, past data performance, trends and patterns, you can sort of identify areas where risk, before it actually arises, you can stop it. So say in April you have a low sales, rather than worrying you've got low sales, you can look at the previous history and go, well, every year we have low sales in April, but we do all right in May and June. So we don't need to be panicking and making a informed decision at this point. It's like, already from the power of the existing data, it gives us that power to sort of predict as well. So obviously when we talk about data, we can't not talk about big data. We've all heard about it, but what actually is it, and why is big data important to everyone? Big data sort of refers to large, complex data sets typically. So you're talking financial institutions, many sources. Obviously your banks, social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They've got huge amounts of big data. Facebook alone generate over 4 million petabytes of data. 4 petabytes, not so, but basically about 4 million gigabytes. That is a day. That's huge, a huge amount of data, and all this data contains precious gold. So companies like Facebook use it to gain insights, like we discussed, about user trends, user behavior, user preferences. So this value, the value in this data is golden. And big data, it comes in different formats depending on the source, the type of the data generated. You've got structured data, unstructured data that tracks locations, we talked about. You've got data that tracks time, when things happen, varying types of formats. And then obviously there's nothing stored in a particular format. If it's stored here, it could be in one format. Over here, it's a different format. It becomes more and more complex to analyze. So, like you said, you might feel like, I'm not in the big data league. I'm not Facebook. I'm not Instagram. I'm not TikTok. I don't. But regardless of the size of your business, having data, whether big or small, it's crucial. And it's important to understand how this big data is utilized, because the social media giants got the ability to quickly identify trends. The same and these strategies, they can be applied to your data just exactly the same way. So just like these industry giants, you've got this valuable source of data that can be mined, analyzed for insights. And the way in which you analyze this data, it's critical for business success. So where is your data? Well, it's in HubSpot for one. If you've got HubSpot, HubSpot contains valuable data. This can be mined and transformed into useful analytics to benefit your business. While HubSpot isn't sort of regarded as like big data, it's still a significant amount of data, and that can be a gold mine of insights to help your business succeed. It's also, it sits in, you might use Xero, you might use QuickBooks, Sage, your accounts package. It's in there. There's data in there. Again, useful data to get out. It's in customer portals, e-commerce sites. If you use, Shopify, for example, anything where you've got your data set. All of this is valuable gold to be mined. So data is gold. Sort of, the social media giants like Facebook, they possess an enormous amount of data. It can be compared to gold mines that make them incredibly wealthy. So they are data rich. They've got a ton of gold. But users of HubSpot and similar systems, like I said before, you've got valuable data as well. So that's also gold. So does that make us all rich because we've got data in HubSpot? Well, we can't claim to be rich or have struck gold just yet. We identified the presence of gold, just like in the real world where you're mining for actual gold. We know it's there, but we still need to extract it. You can't just because the data is just like a gold mine exists. There's no way of just we know that the gold's in the earth, but how on earth I get it out? Like it's sat in HubSpot, but HubSpot's it's in the cloud. What is that to you? It's just again, it's just data. So to help you sort of explain sort of how you get that gold out, Holly will take the lead now, and she'll explain how you dig out your data. So Holly, do you want to step in, jump in? Yeah.
Okay, hi guys, I'm Holly. It's so great to be here, and thank you for having us at your Hug Manila Q1 meetup. I really enjoyed your Q4 back in December, and I hope you've all had a great start to 2023 this first quarter. Okay, so I'm going to continue from where Chris left off and discuss how you dig out that precious gold. Chris covered that data is gold, and you guys could be sat on potential gold mines. But you need to know how to get that gold out. Well, mining for data is much like mining for gold. You know it's there, but how do we get it out? Data mining is the process of discovering patterns, trends, and insights from data. The main goal of data mining is to extract useful and meaningful information that can be used to make informed decisions. For example, a company may use customer purchase patterns and identify which products are frequently purchased together, such as a bat and ball. So we know where the gold is, but how do we get those nuggets out? The problem is, like real gold, it's not always in one place. In terms of data, it could be in different systems. Nowadays, people use many SaaS products to run their business. You might have HubSpot CRM or Xero accounts, perhaps a Shopify site. You may have Google Analytics, Facebook pages, Instagram, TikTok, the list goes on. If my leads are in HubSpot, but I have Facebook followers, LinkedIn followers, Xero accounts, what on earth am I going to do? Do I need a team of gold miners? Quick, chuck me a pickaxe. Whoa, hold on. Don't just go hitting your axe into the ground. That'll get you nowhere. Much like mining for real gold, there are always ways and techniques to mine data too. So let's have a look at the way to dig out your gold. In inbuilt reports, most systems offer out-of-the-box reports such as HubSpot. There's limited customizations. Inbuilt system reports may be limited in their ability to be customized or modified to fit specific needs or requirements. This can make it difficult to extract the information needed from the report. Lack of flexibility. Inbuilt system reports may not be flexible enough to allow for changes in the data or the analysis requirements. This can make it difficult to use the report over time as needs and requirements change. There's complexity. Some inbuilt system reports can be overly complex or difficult to understand, making it difficult for non-technical users to extract useful information from them. There's inaccuracy. Inbuilt system reports may not always produce accurate or reliable results, especially if the underlying data is incomplete or inaccurate. Lack of integration. Inbuilt system reports may not integrate well with other systems or tools, making it difficult to share or use the data in other applications or processes. Moving on to spreadsheets, we're going to touch on human error. Spreadsheets are often prone to human error, particularly when they involve manual data entry, copying and pasting, or complex formulas. And this can lead to inaccuracies, inconsistencies, and mistakes in the data. Lack of data integrity. Spreadsheets can be vulnerable to data corruption, particularly if they are shared across multiple users or saved in different file formats. This can result in data loss or errors that can be difficult to track down and correct. Limited scalability. Spreadsheets can become difficult to manage as the size and complexity of the data increases. This can make it challenging to use them for large-scale data analysis or reporting. There are security risks. Spreadsheets can be vulnerable to security risks, particularly if they contain sensitive or confidential information. They can be easily shared, copied, or printed, potentially exposing the data to unauthorized access or misuse. There's lack of collaboration. Spreadsheets can be difficult to collaborate on, particularly if multiple users need to access and modify the data simultaneously. This can result in version control issues, conflicting changes, and loss of data. This full exports. This is a dump of all your data. That is spreadsheets on steroids, with lots of extra info, linking different sheets via certain columns, and you need someone who understands databases and can link things together, and it's not so easy. There's APIs, Application Programming Interface, which allows you to access your data in a flexible way, but within limits. It is not easy and requires programming skill and knowledge of web-based requests. So, value in the gold. This is usually what is called business intelligence analytics. So, BI encompasses these main areas. We've got data mining, and I've mentioned and touched on that at the beginning. So we'll move on to reporting. Reporting is the process of summarizing and presenting data in a meaningful and easily digestible way to decision makers. The goal of reporting is to provide decision makers with accurate and relevant information that can be used to make informed decisions. When preparing a report, it's important to consider the audience and their specific needs. For example, a financial report for a board of directors may require different information than a marketing report for a team of analysts. Business performance analytics. This is a process that involves the use of measuring data to analyze the performance of a business. This process typically involves collecting data from a variety of sources, such as sales records, customer feedback, and financial reports, and using that data to identify trends and patterns that can inform decision-making. BI tools can be used to collect and analyze data from a variety of sources and to present that data in visual formats. So data visualization is representing data and information through visual representations such as charts, graphs, maps, and diagrams. By presenting data in a visual format, it allows for more intuitive understanding. There are many tools and technologies available for data visualization, ranging from simple spreadsheet programs to sophisticated data analytics platforms. Some popular data visualization tools include Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Power BI, and Tableau. We already mentioned that some systems have a built-in reporting of their own too. So how can we see my data, you ask? Well, it can be viewed in tables, charts, or slice and dice. So tables, well, tables are dull. They're hard to read and it's difficult to find our golden nuggets. Charts, charts show data in a better way and it's easier to digest. Humans are better at processing pictures, so it's a step up on a table of data. And then we've got slice and dice. Now this refers to the process of breaking down data into smaller subsets or categories, often based on certain criteria or variables, to gain a more detailed understanding of data. The slice refers to the initial breakdown of the data into smaller, more specific subsets, while the dice refers to further breakdown of each slice into a more specific category. I will now hand over to Craig, who will cover slicing and dicing and what you can get from your data.
Hi guys, I'm Craig, the other co-founder of Tugger. Also been in the tech industry for a long time. And as Holly just mentioned to you then, I'm going to talk to you a bit more about how you can actually slice and dice this data and, you know, what you can actually get from the reports. So I'm going to take a look at, you know, obviously we've already said, right, you've got this data, but having the data is obviously not good enough. So now I'm going to talk to you basically about what you can actually get from this data. You know, how does it help me and how can it help my business move forwards? Okay, so what I've got up here is a Power BI report that's actually been set up with some data from HubSpot. We set this up using our Tugger platform to do this. And the beauty of using a tool like Microsoft Power BI is that you don't have to like manually extract that data. So where Holly and Chris were talking about data, mining that data and getting that data out. With a platform like Tugger, and I can talk about that a little bit at the end, we're basically pulling that data from HubSpot and pushing that into Power BI all the time. So this report itself is always being updated at any point in time. So you're getting almost near real-time data as opposed to having to wait for somebody to manually do an Excel export or go in and run a particular report, pull that out, combine it with another Excel sheet and all the rest of it. Now, another great thing about Power BI is that you can view it all online, but actually you can embed it into things like presentations like we've done here. So this particular report is actually running interactively inside a PowerPoint presentation. So if you've got a CEO or other stakeholders that you need to present reports to, you can simply use Power BI, build all your reports in Power BI, plug it into a presentation and send them in an email and a PowerPoint if you really want to, and they can basically interact with that report. So we were talking about sort of slicing and dicing of information. So here I'm looking at all the open deals that are sat in HubSpot at this point in time. Now I can see that they're broken down by, you know, pipeline stage. I can, you know, I've got the numbers there. I've got them broken down by revenue, things like that. But if I want to kind of, you know, dice that data further, when we were talking about slicing up that pie before, I can do things like click on the pie segment there. So if I click on that segment now, everything on the display changes. So now I can see everything where the revenue sits for appointment scheduled. I can see, you know, the average revenues. I can see which salespeople have got these appointments, you know, the deals where the appointments are scheduled. Everything there is visible to me. And I don't have to go and run another report or have a separate spreadsheet or whatever. It's all there for me to see. And I can just click on that to go back from that. Now, great things you can sort of do from this report. I can see things like here, I've got the number of open deals by salesperson people, so I can see who's working on those. I can see the revenue opportunities for those deals, but also I'm able to do other analysis that I can't potentially do from HubSpot alone. So I can start to see things like, you know, how long are these deals sitting in particular pipeline stages? So here on this sort of segment here, I can see I've got loads of deals that sit in the contract sent stage for a long period of time. So that tells me, right, how can I speed up that process so that actually I can get these deals pushed in faster and get the revenues in faster. You maybe that you're not doing things like sending out contracts digitally, for instance. It might be that you could send them out via DocuSign or HelloSign to try and turn that around. But if you don't know you've got a problem with that particular stage, you wouldn't think to do anything about it. Likewise, I can see, right, okay, where's the revenue sort of sitting here as well? I can see that the average revenue is always sat in qualified to buy. I can see that's a big chunk, so I need to be working on that stage again to kind of push that revenue through. Now, other great things that you can build into reports, things like filters, again, to help you slice and dice this data. There's a simple filter here that allows me to filter by different pipelines from HubSpot, but you can also build additional filters in that are potentially hidden on the page, so you don't have to see them all the time, but they are there if you want to use them. So you've got filters here by like company, a salesperson, and I've also got like data range filters. beauty of Power BI, you don't have to rely on whatever I'm showing you here. This is purely a report we've built. You can build any report that you want with that data. You can build in whatever filters you need to kind of chop up that data. Other great things you can do, because obviously this is now looking at a very high level overview of the data. But what I can't see here at the minute is, what's sat behind these particular phases. So if I want to say, right, okay, I want to look at what everything that's sat in qualified to buy, I can simply right click on there. I can drill through and go down to deals details. So here I can now see a list of all the deals that are sat within that stage. So I can say, what type of deal it is, when it was created, things like the salesperson, the revenues, whether it's a particular company or whether it's assigned to, what the pipeline stage is, etc. And beauty of things like Power BI is you can create other drill throughs as well. Don't have to be a drill through and has a table below it. You can create a drill through that's got more charts. So it might be you want to keep, and you might even want to drill down again. So you can just keep drilling down and drilling down to get to what it is you're searching for. So I will just jump on to the next one. Oops, I think I might have gone too far. So this next report we've put together looks around how well your sales team is actually operating. So if you've got a call center, or you've got people who are selling on online or whatever, you've not necessarily got an e-commerce system. You've actually got somebody who's actually having to do physical sales, even could still be digitally. Great ways of sort of like seeing how well your team are doing. So at the top here, we've sort of said, actually, we want to see, what deals people are winning, what deals people are losing, and what deals are still open. Why do we want to see that? We want to see that because we want to start to analyze how good our salespeople are. Have we got people that are winning deals all the time? Have we got people that are losing deals all the time? Now, one of the things I can see over here on the right-hand chart is looking at, I've got Frank Smith and James Joyce. 50% of their deals, they're winning all the time. Brilliant. But I can start to see as I go down the chart that actually I've got some, lower performing salespeople. Now, in terms of the chart at the bottom here, I'm looking at the overall won versus lost deals. So here I can say, well, 45% of deals are won. So that all instantly gives me an indicator to say, well, actually 45% of deals are won, then all salespeople should be working around that sort of 45% mark. Naturally, some will be slightly higher, some will be slightly lower. But what you then don't want to see is the guys down here like Sandy Smith and Peter Franklin again, who are at 12.5% each. So these guys are really underperforming at this point. So you've then got to allows you to start making decisions saying, well, do I need to give these guys more training? Do I need to understand why these people are struggling to process those deals? What is it? Again, you can sort of look at that information. So I click on Peter Franklin and say, well, he's actually technically only lost one deal at this stage. So it might just be unlucky. But I can see, the actual revenue he's brought in is 0.14 million. And the only deal that he's actually lost was a value of a total of 37,500. So it might actually be that even though his rate of sale is low, the actual deals that he's lost might actually be insignificant compared to the ones that he is winning. So there's lots of different ways to kind of go, well, actually, how is that going on? So I'll jump on from there. Oh, the charts at the bottom left, I'll just mention these. As time goes on, these will produce line charts, so I can see, in terms of won deals versus lost deals, I can say, are we winning more deals over time? Are we losing more deals over time? The key here is then going, well, if I'm starting to lose deals over time, then I've obviously got to start to react to that and do something and figure out why we're losing those deals. Again, is it due to new salespeople who've brought on that haven't quite been trained properly, and things like that? Or, if we're winning deals, great, everything's going in the right direction. But unless you actually know you're going in the right direction, you don't know how well you're doing. And this next report when it loads up. So here we've got a report looking at things like, the actual deal pipeline that we've got set up in here. We've got the ability to switch between deal pipelines, and I can filter by a salesperson if I want to look at a particular salesperson's pipeline. But here I can start to see things like, again, how long do they stay in these particular stages? What revenue is sat in those open stages at the minute? And I can see things like, what was the revenue in the closed pipeline stage, and what is the lost pipeline stage, and what revenue sits in the one stage as well. So I can see are we winning or losing more in terms of revenue sort of values as well. Other great stuff we've got here is this sort of deals composition tree. So this type of chart here is a bit more interactive than sort of like your standard bar charts. Here I can start to see the actual flow of deals. So I can see, so I can see the number of deals. We've got 67 of them, 43 of those are open and they're in appointment scheduled. And I can then see how they sit from salespeople as well. And you can play around with this chart. You can remove particular things if you want to filter them down. I can click on particular segments to highlight those as well. And as I highlight that again, everything else on this particular display is obviously going to highlight along with that as well. So there's all sorts of stuff you can start to produce from these sort of reports. So I'll just jump you on. Okay, so I've talked about a lot there about how you sort of visualize that data, ways you can do that. And we've talked a lot previously about extracting, but what sort of tools can you use to actually extract this data? Well, there are a few tools out there, tools from companies like Data DDO, Stitch, our own platform Tugger. We all work in sort of similar ways in that what we do is we plug directly into HubSpot, and we basically extract that data out of the platform, and we extract that data automatically at regular intervals. The other thing that happens when you extract that data is you do need to sort of warehouse that somewhere. So tools like Stitch and Data DDO, you'd have the responsibility of actually having to house that in somewhere like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure, which is a whole other topic which we won't get into. But obviously it slightly complicates the process. Our actual own solution, Tugger, doesn't have that complication for you. We actually extract and warehouse that in our platform and then push straight into tools like Power BI. So it's literally a streamlined process, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, these extraction tools, you can extract the data, and then one of the often called ETL tools, and ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. So extraction, as what you've said, is obviously extracting the data. You've got the transforming, and by here we're talking about things like, what do we need to do with the data to transform it into something that we can work with. For instance, transformation may include deduping data. So you might have duplicate companies, so you might want to have some transformation in there that removes those duplicates from your data. And then the loading is where we call loading that into analytics tools. So loading into tools like Power BI as an example. Now, in terms of visualization tools, Power BI, which I've shown you, is one example, but there are others. Tableau is a data visualization tool. Again, you can create dashboards, reports, things like that. Again, that sits in the cloud as well. That's a product by Salesforce. And then, Google have got their own stuff, Data Studio. That's another way of visualizing it as well. And there are a ton of others out there. And I've already sort of touched on Tugger, how that does it. We've obviously do the extraction, we do the loading of the data, we do the warehousing of the data, and it also, we produce reports as well. So any of the reports I've shown you are actually in our platform as well. So in summary then, is data dull? As that was the question. Was data dull? May seem dull on the surface, but actually it's hugely valuable. Without it, you're almost working blind, if you like. But as we said, it's got to be mined properly, and you've got to use tools to get that data out. So tools to extract it, and tools to represent that, to allow you to visualize that data in a way that makes that data meaningful to you. And that's the end of our presentation today. So thank you very much for your time, guys, and I hope that was useful to you all. And apologies again for the slideshow at the beginning being not being on the display.
No worries. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Craig, Chris, and also Holly. It was so nice hearing a different perspective about data and understanding how to mine it properly. I love that analogy where we talk about data as a gold mine, and if you're not able to kind of mine it in a proper way through reports, or even through managing your data, it can go haywire. All right, so I'm gonna be sharing my screen for a bit. I know that was a lot of information to take in for everybody, especially if data is something that's new to you, or something that Chris mentioned earlier. It can sound overwhelming. It's really nice that Tugger is here to kind of break things down. We'll be going into a 5-minute break. So I'll be flashing the 5 minutes on the screen, and I'll be playing some music. You can use that time to, go on your bio break or get some coffee. But we'll be back after 5 minutes to do our Q&A with Tugger, and Sarah will join me there as well. All right, I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, that's 5 minutes up. I hope you guys are still here. Can I get an emoticon or an emoji in the chat if you guys are still here? I see Rafi's here. He brought some coffee over. Yeah, when we're talking about stuff like data, yeah, we may need some drinks. Sarah's also here with her iced tea. What does your mug say, Rafi? Now coffee works? How coffee works? Yeah, care to go unmute and talk a little bit more about your mug?
Yeah, it says how coffee works. You put coffee in your mouth, magic happens, and energy comes out.
We should have a Hug Manila infographic for that. How coffee works. Because I know a lot of our huggers here drink coffee as well. Okay, yeah, we have our Tugger team from the UK here. Rochelle and Ryden and Lay are also here. Back, I know we're a little early in our agenda, but that's still cool. We'll have more time to talk because now we're going to do our Q&A with Tugger. Woohoo! And Sarah's here also with me in the baby room so that we could moderate together for our Q&A. So with everything that Tugger had discussed earlier about data being a gold mine, how you can mine your data properly, now is the perfect time for you guys to ask your questions about data. Could be data integration, could be managing data, and things like that. But before we get into our Q&A with Tugger, Sarah, maybe you can share
Sure.
some points that you can connect from your RevOps bootcamp and what
Yeah.
Tugger has been mentioning in this session.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank Chris, Craig, and Holly. I know I met you guys like mid of last year. Really in the HubSpot community world, you make connections from all parts of the world. So I had the opportunity to meet them virtually, Chris, Craig, and Holly. When they reached out to me, just we were HubSpot geeking. I feel like this group is like a geek squad. I say that because when it comes to data, you really have to be a little bit geeky just so that you can figure it
Unfortunately,
out. Like you need to figure out. There's a certain sense of how our brain works that really just connects with data. And I love one thing that you said, Chris, in the beginning when you said data is not just for the big players, because I resonate a lot with that, primarily because when our worlds were turned upside down, when it happened 3 years ago, a lot of the companies started really thinking about the gold mines that they had, right? In their business, in their operations. So and a lot of the huggers in the community actually are, some of them are from startups, or some of them have businesses that are not more than 10 years. They're really building their business. There is there's often a misconception that when it comes to data, you have to be very big. Like, you have to be like processing millions and millions of information before you actually put a system in. And I love that in the beginning you mentioned that data is not just for the big players. But I'm curious to know more about that, because I mentioned some of the huggers are startups, some are like companies not more than 10 years, but they're doing good business. What tips would you have for them for what data they should be tracking? That's number one. Also, because some feel like, but I'm still small, I shouldn't be tracking all this data. How early should they be tracking their data? That's number two. So the first one is, what data should they be tracking? How early should they be tracking data? And the third one is, how should they set up their system so they're tracking the right data? I know you covered a little bit about that with what Tugger does also, and HubSpot and all the other platforms that we use. But maybe you can tell us some tips for the I would say like newbie or intermediate business entrepreneurs in the room.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, do you want to?
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah. So in terms of what you want to track, without saying the word everything, is, obviously as a startup, the first thing you're tracking is where are those opportunities coming from and how often those opportunities come in. Just in our business alone, I can give you some of the ideas of what we track, and we track them from day one. And that is, we would track who's coming to us, how often they're coming to us. Are those people coming to us more often than they were previously?
Where are they coming from as well?
Yeah. Where are they coming from? That's a massive key factor, is where they're coming from, because without that, you can't work out where you want to spend your marketing effort. So it's a massive thing, that it's very easy when you're doing marketing to spend a load of money on PPC, but then where do you spend it? Do you spend it on Facebook ads, Instagram ads? Do you spend it on Google paid ads? Do you spend it on YouTube ads? So you've kind of got to start to dip your toe in probably across the board. But as you dip your toe in, if you're not monitoring where you spend it and what your return is, then you could just waste a load of money. So it's tracking all that stuff. Tracking things like, when you get customers potentially buying, tracking those sort of conversion rates. Is that conversion rate increase? But tracking where are these people from? Do you get better conversion rates from not just from particular lead sources, but do you get from particular countries, particular regions, particular cities? Times of day. It's anything you can track to work out what that is, because especially when you're starting up, it's all about that sales pipeline, getting the best sales pipeline you can that's going to convert. So that's what we track a lot. But then it's also if you've got customers that are potentially, we're a subscription-based business, so we need to track things like retention rates, how long are people actually staying as customers? Do they jump off? If they do jump off, you need to then start tracking, well, why are they jumping off, and what can we do to stop those people jumping off? So there's a whole host of things that you can look to sort of track there. And your question about how often, when should you start tracking? I'd probably say day one, which is what we done. That's what we did. And whatever you track from day one, I'd also do. It's not what you'll be tracking day 6, day 7, a year down the line. It will change, because you should only go, we don't know this, because you've got to ask yourself, what do we actually know? What don't we know? Because if you know that, if you don't know something, you've got to say, right, we need to start tracking that. How do we track that? How do we report on that? And again, it's an evolving thing. You haven't just got a data and tomorrow you've got a report. Those reports will grow over time as you need to learn
the
more.
ease of the tracking as well is much easier than it used to be, even 2-3 years ago. So you can start, like Craig said, start tracking from day one. You don't have to be some absolute data whiz to start that. Start the tracking. And like I said, it's just got to be done early doors. we wouldn't be, our business wouldn't survive if we didn't start from day one, would it?
No,
chance.
no.
We would have just spent money, like you say, on this area, but actually the money's coming this way. So yeah, we wouldn't have a chance really. So 100% day one.
I love that you said day one, because not all entrepreneurs think that they should be tracking everything from day one. They should collect it first and then track it, right? But that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like setting yourself up for success. You have all the systems in place so that you're tracking all that data. So day one. So we also have a good question from the chat, actually, from Rafi. Rafi, you wanna come off mute and ask your question?
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to ask, what are the common mistakes do you see in data integration projects, and how do we avoid them? Those are the two questions.
Okay, I suppose one of the most common mistakes is probably not understanding your data. Is understanding how that data hangs together. Probably one of the other mistakes people makes is not actually knowing what they want to see before they get started. So if they've got no sort of real vision in terms of, right, what am I actually looking for? What am I trying to report on? Because then you could literally just create anything, a whole load of mess, and you actually can't see it. But you've really got to sort of understand what's there. It's very easy to kind of get messed up as well, because when you're talking like lots of bits of data, if you're looking at HubSpot alone, you've got contacts, you've got companies, you've got your tasks, all your other engagement data like your meetings and all the rest of it. The trick is that you need to kind of model that data correctly so that you can report on what you want. So if you're looking at analysis of tasks in HubSpot, because you want to see how many you've got open, you want to see who's closing those tasks, are they staying open too long, then obviously your data model there needs to reflect that appropriately. But what you don't want to be doing is things like bringing in I'll bring every bit of data into my report and then I'll work it out. The best way is to start with, right, what do we need? Bring in the bits as you go and say, right, I only care about that, and that, report on that. Because otherwise it would just end up with huge reporting files that are just out of control. What else you can think of that's big?
I think people tend to underestimate, the sort of the size of the data as well, don't they? That's a lot of an issue. People don't know, like we said earlier, people don't know how much data they have, because HubSpot does actually hold a lot of data for a person. It's not tens of thousands of rows, is it? You're talking soon into the millions.
Yeah, it is very quick, but people don't realise. People go, I'm not going to have a million rows of data. It's like, you'd be surprised what you've actually got there, because the people forget that, every contact is another line of data. Every company is a line of data. Every task is a line of data. Do you know what I mean? All those add up. If you've got one company and they've got 10 tasks off it, and they've got to look 4 or 5 companies, you've already got 15, 20 lines of data around one company, and that's not including your meetings, calls you've made, emails you sent out. Everything there is adding up to that. So people always think, oh yeah, we've probably only got a few thousand lines of data, but they haven't. They've got absolute tons.
So that's why data is gold, because when you uncover it, you're able to turn it into gold, right? So I actually have a hugger from Facebook who asked this question. I think they're curious about you, Chris, Craig, and Holly. They're curious to know, how did you start gaining interest in data integration and organization? What made you set up Tugger and do what you do?
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one. So Chris and I also co-founded another business called Advanced Company Software, and we founded that back in 2009. So that's a bespoke software business, still running today, and we've been writing software for years, system after system after system. COVID came along, and we had massive concerns that actually would people have the large budgets post-COVID, not just during COVID, but what was the landscape going to look like afterwards? So we were aware of tools like Power BI and stuff like that, and we thought, you know what, we need to start to think about data, because people now really care about, where they're spending money, utilization of staff, all that sort of stuff. So we started to get into building reports for people. We started to get into this actual sort of data extraction, data building. And what we started to discover from the back of that is actually it becomes very expensive for people if they don't use tools like Tugger, because for somebody to go ahead and integrate with something like HubSpot and get the data out, they need programmers who are going to write some code that talks to the HubSpot system through the APIs. They've got to pull that data out, store that into some database somewhere. So then they've suddenly got DevOps people knocking around that have to do that. More expense from the hosting of it all and all the rest of it. And then, then HubSpot goes and changes its API a few weeks later. So you start again and you're backwards and forwards. So we went from just being interested in reporting to actually going, well, actually we can come up with a solution here that actually makes it easy for people to report, particularly sort of like startups, medium-sized businesses that don't have, tens of thousands of pounds of a budget to start building reports. Because a lot of organizations don't have that budget. So we thought there's got to be an opportunity to get in there and do that. And that's sort of how that journey began and progressed.
Yes, I hear you there about HubSpot changing their API policies. That was a big one for us too. A lot of our clients were impacted by that, and but technology is always evolving. So I'm glad that you were able to identify a niche that where you can help. We have another Facebook hugger who actually wants to hear Holly. I think, Holly, you have a lot of fans. Because your voice is just so soothing. So the question is, what advice do you have for companies who want to start organizing their data but feel it's too tedious of a task?
Gosh.
Over to you, Holly. I mean, either speak to someone like ourselves in some ways as a start of a 10, like Tugger. People like us, we are essentially data experts. Speak to someone like us to start with and go, look, if they've got stuff in HubSpot or they've got stuff in Salesforce, whatever it may be, and they don't know what to do with it, or they might even be working off of spreadsheets and they might go, oh my word, my business still runs off of some old Excel spreadsheet. What do I do? If they're completely stuck, speak to someone like us guys, and we could definitely advise on the right sort of steps to go, really. Would you say, Craig? Agree on that?
I would say so. Yeah.
I remember from our first conversations how you mentioned sometimes clients also don't know what data they should be reporting on. And that's where you can help also in terms of like helping them slice and dice, right?
You will get people coming along saying, as Craig sort of jokingly said before, you want to report on everything. But again, like typical business owner approach that we would say, but actually you can't, that's not the right, you want to start somewhere and go, what are the high level things, and then break that down. And as Holly said about pieces of the pie and stuff earlier, you just pick bits of the pie you want to report on.
Yeah, so there's also another question about what the biggest challenge you had from integrating your clients' data. How did you overcome it?
I'll probably say the API based on their APIs, would you say?
Yeah, it depends on their APIs, because obviously in our particular tool, we've already done the integration piece. So in getting somebody set up on our software takes minutes.
Yeah.
So that's pretty straightforward. But actually doing the actual integration is the complicated piece. And it depends, like Chris says, on the type of APIs. HubSpot's not one of the worst ones. We work with much more complicated APIs than that one. We've got one API, for instance, Simpro, that's got like over 250 different APIs, I think, pretty much sat underneath there with different database tables, and it's crazy. It's the sort of challenges you get is when the APIs don't work and stuff like that. So you look at an API and say, well, that's what it says, but actually that's not what it returns. So you're like messing around with stuff like that, and it can be a pain. I mean, some APIs can take us, a couple of weeks to integrate with. Others can be a couple of months, even longer. So it just varies.
That is a challenge for the businesses as well. Really, it's like you could, like we said, obviously Tugger was founded off of a software business, and it is software guys that would integrate with these APIs. And like I said, not every business is going to want to pay tens of thousands of pounds for software developers or tens of thousands of dollars or whatever to buy these software guys to build it and, like I said, maintain it when it changes. Whereas, if with platforms like Tugger and other sort of solutions where, it's pre-built for you, you just literally clicking and going, it cuts out all that sort of hard work.
Yeah, one of the other great things you can do as well with it, because obviously we've talked a lot about obviously integrating with HubSpot, but there's nothing to stop you integrating through other systems as well. You could bring in data from Xero, QuickBooks, whatever. I think Chris touched on it previously. So you don't have to just report along one system, and that's one of the great things. And
you can do them in stages. People still do have SharePoint amount of spreadsheets that they do use, and they don't have it in a system yet, and it's too costly for them to put into a system. But with tools like Power BI, you can still talk to that spreadsheet, and you could have your HubSpot coming in from here, and then you can have your SharePoint, your Xero, and it's all in. It's just getting it in that one place. That's the key. So you're not looking, it's something's here, something's there.
Yeah, we're often, because obviously we provide the solution that does that, but we're obviously often asked if we can do something around sort of services as well. So we've got these spreadsheets, like Chris said, sat on SharePoint. Mm-hmm. Can you help us integrate with those? And we have done that as well and brought that data in from there, or whatever. Or they've got some bespoke system that they've got in place that they've had built by some software developers. Can you integrate with that? Yeah. And again, that's possible as well.
Yeah, and it's just getting that data into one focus really. It's that, I think that's probably a big panic for a lot of people, because as if their business is 5 years old, 10 years old, and they have got systems all over the place, people do start to panic and go, oh well, how do I get all my data into Power BI? And that's where that's where you've got to step back and just take a look at it and go, look, okay, well, it's not that bad. You might have your accounts package over there, whatever, your spreadsheets. There is just it is possible to get it in there.
I was talking to a guy the other day. They're actually one of the software vendors that we work with, a bit like HubSpot, and he was saying to me, he said they're still at a point now. He knows obviously what we do, but he says still at a point now where they've still got people every day putting stuff into spreadsheets to produce the reports, and then you have and they're an organisation that they raised about 350 million about a year back. So they're not, and that's a large organisation that still struggle with data. Mental, absolutely crazy.
Well, people sometimes put it off until they really need to, right? But and with that question, and Rafi posted a good one actually. He said, there's a lot of reports on HubSpot. It seems there's more that can be done with the HubSpot reports, but to slice and dice them. But when we're dealing with other tools as well, like pulling data from QuickBooks, for example, from your ERP, or maybe pulling other data from, maybe you're using Salesforce for your sales stuff, or whatever it is that monster of your tech stack that you need to pull data in together. And is that when we know? How do we know when we need Tugger to come in? And he says, hopefully before you feel the pain. Yeah,
I think most people come to us when they literally cannot get the information out of the systems they've got, not in the shape format that's going to work for them, or they've got lots of people producing spreadsheets and they're sick of producing spreadsheets because they're doing it day in, day out, and it's a cost. Yeah. It's a cost in the business. It's somebody's time, and it's that time could be better utilised elsewhere. So most people literally are in that situation where they've gone, I just don't know. I can't see the wood for the trees. I need to kind of find out all this information. How do I do it?
Yeah, it's usually they've got a guy that's sat there every week exporting something into a CSV or whatever, and then there's dissecting it, and and then they realise that this is not cost effective.
Yeah, so instead of getting your guy there, or your dev guy trying to figure out all the APIs, just get Tugger to come in and tug the data.
Yeah, we've had it where people were going to basically get in-house sort of developers to do stuff, and then they realised, well, actually, we could work with Tugger instead, and save the resource, because they don't need to get guys in-house.
Yeah, so I think, Sam, those are just the questions that I have. Maybe we can leave you guys with just your final message to everyone in the community. some tips maybe, and then we do have your contact details. We'll share that to the community, but maybe some
Yeah.
tips for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is don't ignore it. Don't ignore the fact that you've got this data there, and go, I'll worry about it tomorrow. Definitely don't ignore it. Start to really think about, okay, what if I knew this piece of information, would it help me enhance the business? And that might even be just one simple question of, it might be a few simple questions like, do I actually know who my best salespeople are? Do I know who's converting those? It could be, do I know where, my sales are coming from? Do I really know that I'm spending the right money in the right places and I'm getting the best return on investment for a marketing budget? Just start to have a think about those questions, and other questions as well, things that will start to think, do I really know how well my business is actually performing?
I love it. I've already quoted Craig in the chat. So after the event, we have something to quote you guys on. But Chris, Craig, and Holly, thank you so much for all the information that you've shared with us today. Like I mentioned, data integration and talking about data is something very new to Hug Manila. So we're happy that you kind of pioneered it. And you guys were the first ones to bring in that topic about data in Hug Manila. So thank you guys so much. We'll be closing our Q&A for now, but if you do have more questions, for those who are watching our recording, if you end up having questions, we'll talk about how you can raise those questions to Tugger as well in a bit. So
Thanks,
at this
guys.
point, we're going to be doing a quick group photo, and we're also going to wrap up our event. For those who are still here, we're going to announce our winner from our icebreaker early on. So let's first have our groupie, Bevy groupie. So I'm going to stop sharing screen. And for those who can't turn on their camera, that'd be great. Yeah, nice to have Chris, Craig, and Holly back on the screen. Rochelle's here also, and David's here. So if you can turn on your cam. Yeah, cool. I know some of the people here in our bevy room can't turn on their camera, but that's okay. We'll include you still, and you'll still be seen in the recording. All right. Okay. So for Chris, Craig, and Holly, I think for Chris and Holly, maybe you guys could scooch a little closer to Chris. Perfect. So that we can see you guys. I'm gonna go take a screenshot in 3. Oh, there! Rochelle joined us. Awesome. Okay, I'll take a screenshot in 3, 2, 1. Smile. Maybe we could have a selfie or a group fee where we do like a pose about data. What do you guys think? Yeah, do your best data-esque pose. Okay, I'm gonna go like this, so it looks like I'm mining some data. All right, everybody, smile in 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Okay. I'm gonna share screen again so that we can do our quick wrap up of today's event. I'm sure you guys learned a lot. I learned a lot as well as someone who's a marketing person learning about data. It's pretty cool today. All right, for our event wrap up, if you missed any Hug Manila event last year, including this one, if you just missed it, don't worry. All you have to do is go to events.hubspot.com/Manila, and you'll see all our events from last year and even the previous years, and all the recordings are there as well in case you want to come back to them. Also, there. Also, here are our winners for the word search icebreaker we had earlier. Congratulations to you, Rochelle Ann, for finding the most number of winners. This has been verified by David, our chat master today. But also, we have our runner-ups. Congratulations to Rafi and Ryden. You guys will also get some Hug Manila goodies or HubSpot goodies after this event. We'll talk to you guys about how you can get that later on. And also, let's make our next Hug Manila events more awesome this year. I think this year we're gonna try and rebrand, do things a little different. Rafi and I just came off of that community bootcamp, and there are a lot of ideas that came up. So if you also have some ideas you'd want to share, topics you'd want to talk about for the next meetups, a survey will actually be sent to you guys in your emails right after this event, the following day actually. So we're being more automated now. You don't have to scan the QR code or click a link, because those surveys will be sent to your emails directly. Also, if you are watching our recording and you have some questions about data or questions about Hugger, we will have a post Q&A on our socials. So come next week, 27 to 31, you can ask questions to Tugger or to Holly, Chris, and Craig. If you have those questions, we'll be forwarding it to them so that they could answer it promptly as well. It doesn't have to be about data too. If you have like questions about Chris, Craig, or Holly's journey through data or what they've been doing, or if you'd like to connect with them for possible collaborations, you can do so. I also want to put up our Hug jobs. So normally, if there's anybody in the Hug Manila community who has a job opening in their company, of course, we want to help each other grow better. So if you have those job openings, feel free to share it with me or share it in the group so that we can connect better and maybe find the right HubSpotter for you or for your team. Okay? And here also are some additional resources for today's topic about data. If you want to know more about why you need to integrate your HubSpot data with Power BI, Tugger has a great video about that. Holly's there too, so if you want to hear Holly's voice again, Holly's beautiful, informative voice, you can hear it in that video. Other things I want to recommend to today are some certifications from HubSpot Academy. So if you want to be certified for data integrations or even RevOps like Sarah is, you can take these certifications, and that would be better for your business too, to help you mine your data even better. Okay, but also if you want to learn more about creating a data strategy for your business, something that's really connected to what Chris, Craig, and Holly were talking about today, HubSpot actually has some tips for that as well. And included in those tips are also advanced marketing tools. Marketing tools to manage your data, figure out which data you should be reporting on as well. So David has already put all of those links in the chat. But if you are watching the recording, it's in our presentation deck. Okay, if you want to know more about data integration, about the Tugger app that Chris was showing earlier, you can book a demo with Tugger today. So all you have to do is scan the QR code on the screen. David will also be sharing the link to the Tugger demo in our chat. Maybe if you want to talk to Chris and Craig more about your ideas about data integration, you can definitely do that in your Tugger demo. Or if you also need help with HubSpot, besides data integration and Tugger, of course, they also talked about HubSpot today. If you want to get on board with reporting or collecting data to begin with through HubSpot, you can book a discovery call with Get Creative today. So again, all you have to do is scan the QR code or click the link that David has sent in the chat. Lastly, if you're not yet in our LinkedIn, Facebook, or HubSpot community groups, I highly recommend that you guys join there, because that's where we share all of the updates about our upcoming events. We do have a lot more in store for this year. It's just the start of the year. We'll have a lot more meetups and a lot more what we call tambais or get-togethers. And who knows, maybe we'll do one face-to-face this year. Let's see. But if you want to be updated about that, feel free to join our LinkedIn, Facebook, and HubSpot community groups. The links are on the screen, but they're also in the chat. David has been very punctual in sending all of those links. And with that, I want to thank you guys so much for joining our meetup today. It was so fun having everybody here talking and geeking out about data. I enjoyed it. But this has been the Data Digest, using data integration to jumpstart your 2023, our Hug Manila 2023 Q1 Meetup. I'm Sam. I was your host for today, and I hope you guys have the rest of the day as awesome as it was here in this meetup. Bye, everybody.